Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything going on in the world of sports. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome to an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast. What is happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He's the co-host. He's a statistician to the stars. His name is Padawan J.
Folks, the weather up here in New York State is finally wonderful. I can drive with my windows down. I don't need a jacket. What is this?
Well, it is the signs that spring may be here.
It could be fall spring.
Yes, we don't know because where we live in upstate New York, it's a possibility it could be sunny one minute and then snowing the next. So we just have to enjoy the good times while we have them with you, the ODPH Society, and we definitely keep those conversations rolling after the show. So, Pat, if everybody wants to talk sports with us, where do they go?
ODPHpodcast.com.
Right on. Swing on over to the website. A lot of things happening over there. A lot of things. Classified section is popping off right now, so you can go check out 3FN Podcast, Dragon Master Games, Nerd Initiative. Social media links are all updated. The blogs are going crazy left and right. The TeePublic Store link is always there. If you want to go get some ODPH stuff, that's the perfect place to go because you never know when a sale is dropping. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So you definitely want to go check that out. Plus, if you need to go get some fantastic music, we got a great selection of bands up here that provide music to the show. And we also have a directory because, Pat, how many providers are we on?
472,766.
Statistician stars for a reason. Who's your source?
Trust me, bro.
So wherever you're listening to ODPH on, we do appreciate it more than you know. Leave us a review on your favorite podcatcher. It definitely helps the algorithm of the show. And like we say, we have the links right there. So if you need to transfer where you're listening to us from, boom, we have you covered. And if it's anything else that is the ODPH, you can find it at odphpodcast.com. And if you're still using hashtags, why not use the hashtag ODPHpod? Kicking off this edition of the sports show, that's right, folks. We have a lot to dive into the world of professional sports, and there is no larger story going on right now than NFL free agency.
Story in free agency was so crazy it broke Twitter. Allegedly.
Because this is now where the official postseason really kicks into play.
Mm-hmm.
We now have teams declaring about their franchise players. Also, a lot of moving and shaking going on heading into the NFL draft. So there has been some great contracts that have gone down. So we're going to recap the ones we think really are standing out to you.
Yep.
The audience. So let's go into it, Pat. What's making some noise?
So I'm going off of the list courtesy of CBSSports.com, and this is updated as of recording. So, hey, if I go through this list and your favorite team, I miss one of those players, hey, it's because it happened after we recorded. So going through, and this is in alphabetical order. So first you got the Arizona Cardinals, who they retained a couple of players. They got Zay Jones back for 1 year, $4.4 million. A couple of linebackers, got a couple of defensive guys. Baron Browning, 2 years, $15 million. Joey Blount, 2 years, $4.75 million. But they got two additions to the team, both of them on defense. First of which is the linebacker Akeem Davis Gaither, 2 years, $11 million. Big one though, edge Josh Sweat, 4 years, $76.4 million, coming over from the world champion Philadelphia Eagles. Had 10.5 sacks between the regular season and postseason last year. Monster on defense.
Yeah, that is something that you're going to hear a lot, is Philadelphia took a lot of hits on that Super Bowl winning team.
Oh, yeah.
Sweat going to Arizona is a big move, and that is a good one for them.
Oh, yeah. Then you got the Atlanta Falcons, who, I mean, honestly, I can read through all of them. They haven't really done all that much. They retained left tackle Jake Matthews, 2 years, $45 million extension. They've retained the safety Liam McCullough for 4 years, and then they signed linebacker Divine Diablo for 2 years, $14 million. So, hey, we'll see.
Who's Atlanta?
What is Atlanta?
Atlanta is stat quo.
Yeah, pretty much. Speaking of stat quo, Baltimore Ravens, they retained, again, I can read everything they've done. It ain't much. They retained left tackle Ronnie Stanley, 3 years, $60 million. Get your payday, bro. And then they retained fullback Patrick Ricard for 1 year. Next would technically be the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to wait on them. We'll, of course, save our team for last.
Okay.
And you got the Carolina Panthers. They retained a couple of players. Two cornerbacks, Jace Horn, 4 years, $100 million. Saw this dude's name, and I'll be honest, I'm not intimately familiar with the Carolina Panthers. I went, who?
He's their best defensive player, so that makes sense to
Yeah.
me, in my opinion.
Yeah. The other cornerback they retained is Michael Jackson. No, not that Michael Jackson. Different Michael Jackson. 2 years, $14.5 million. They also retained your favorite quarterback, not of the Buffalo Bills.
AD?
Andy Dalton. 2
Yes.
2 years, $8 million. Signed a couple of interesting players, all of which on defense. Defensive tackle Tershawn Wharton, 3 years, $54 million. Trayvon Moehrig, 3 years, $51 million. And then edge Patrick Jones, the second, 2 years, $20 million.
Smart moves. I mean,
Yeah.
Carolina really needs to help everywhere.
They're making some noise.
But they're making some noise. They had some cap money, and they definitely took advantage of it. I thought they made solid ones. I mean, I'm not blown away by any of those signings.
Right.
But I think for the signings that we got, I thought they were good.
You want to talk about a team who's coming in and looking to make a splash and really emerge maybe as some odds-on favorites, early odds-on favorites. It might be the next team we talk about here, the Chicago Bears. Traded for a couple players. They traded with the Rams for Jonah Jackson, the offensive lineman. They traded with the Chiefs for Joe Thuney, which surprised the hell out of me.
That was probably the biggest surprise, I think, thus far.
Yeah, 4-time Super Bowl champ, I think, Thuney. He's got at least 2 or 3 from New England, and then he's got a couple from Kansas City, so hey, good for them. They retained a couple of interesting ones there. They got Amon Ogbongbema, I think is how you say, Ogbongbemiga, 2 years, $5 million. Josh Blackwell, another guy on defense they retained. And then they signed a couple players, most notably of which, defensive tackle Grady Jarrett, 3 years, $43.5 million. Center Drew Dahlman, 3 years, $42 million. And then the other one, edge Deo Odeyingbo, 3 years, $48 million. So clearly putting a focus on the offense.
I thought Chicago thus far has had the best offseason.
Yeah.
Or they're in the conversation at least. We knew the Bears now with a new head coach, new mindset. Obviously, we're going to make some moves. I really like all the moves they did, to be honest with you, and especially shoring up their offensive line a little bit. I mean, anything you can give to give Caleb Williams some help, I think is going to be beneficial since you're now all in with him. So I like the moves they did, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, anything you can do to help Caleb Williams, who got sacked a ton.
Yeah.
A ton last year, it certainly helps the job there. He only got sacked 68 times last year. Yikes.
Yeah, they need to do something, especially with the offense they're going to try running like Detroit's. Mm-hmm. You need to bolster that line. And now they have a chance.
Yeah.
Not saying punch their ticket to the playoffs, but they have a chance.
Yeah. Then you get to the Cincinnati Bengals, who retained T. Higgins with the franchise tag. A little surprised at that. They also retained defensive lineman B.J. Hill, 3 years, $33 million, and gave a 3-year, $25.5 million deal to tight end Mike Gesicki. Of note, signed a couple players. They had some other ones, but those are the ones that jumped out. And then they signed a couple interesting ones. To Daryl Slayton, the defensive tackle, 2 years, $15.1 million. And then they signed the running back Samaje Perine, 2 years, $3.8 million.
Their offensive signings, I don't have a problem with, except cap space.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I don't understand, especially with T. Higgins.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase now needs a new contract. There's the definition of moving parts. Like, there is a lot going on. So I don't know if they went all in, especially to try enticing a team to go make a run for T. Higgins.
Oh, Lord have mercy. So on the list I'm looking at on CBSSports.com, next to T. Higgins' name and franchise tag, there's a read more option, which leads to a separate article.
Yeah.
Listen to this subtitle for this article, because there's this whole thing. By the title, Bengals, T. Higgins gets franchise tag again. What move means for wide receiver team as sides still seek long-term deal. The subtitle on this: Higgins will make a fully guaranteed $26.2 million in 2025 if no deal is reached.
Yeah.
Yikes.
That was the gamble they took. And
again,
I mean, it's tough because in this day and age, especially with the NFL salary cap, which is the toughest in sports, but it creates the biggest amount of parity. I don't have an issue with it.
No.
But the Bengals went all in about this, knowing that they were going to have one last run with this group that they have.
Yeah.
Because I can't see Higgins coming back for less per se after this.
Nope.
And then you still have Jamar Chase to deal with.
This is true.
So, and then, I mean, to give more help to Burrow, it's great if you have an offense that is going to put up 50 points a game, but you also need somebody to stop your opponents from putting up 57. That's the argument that you're going to have with Cincinnati, that as great as their offense might look on paper, I think they took a step back. I really do.
No, I agree 100%. Then you get to the interesting one, the Cleveland Browns, of course.
Oh, my God,
Can we ever go into offseason without them doing something extremely questionable? I say no. I talked to a Cleveland Browns fan. He said no. So they traded for one player, world champion quarterback, Kenny Pickett. Sorry, I can say that. He was on the team. He's getting a ring.
Mm-hmm.
They retained, and all of a sudden, when I read the report, Myles Garrett withdrew his trade request. I'm like, uh-oh, that can't be good. That means he's probably getting a deal. And sure as you know what, he did. 4 years, $160 million. $88.8 million of it is guaranteed at signing. Total guaranteed is $122 million and change. There is a full no trade clause, and he will not become a unrestricted free agent until the age of 36 in the 2031 season. Holy smokes. Then they signed a couple players. Offensive tackle Cornelius Lucas for 2 years, $10 million. And then they signed Joe Tyron Shoyinka for 1 year, $4.75 million. But, of course, the big one everyone's talking about, Myles Garrett.
Yeah, this one definitely puzzling.
Uh-huh.
We knew at the beginning of February, Myles Garrett made it very public, especially he made the Instagram post that went viral about he thanked Cleveland for the time of service, but he wanted to go to a winner. That's why he was asking for a full trade. We knew that the front office was not hearing this.
Yeah.
And I will say this. Kudos to them for sticking to their guns because they said there's no chance we were going to trade him.
Right.
Now, in this day and age, we have heard many players throughout all of sports,
Sure.
if they are quote-unquote unhappy with their teams and start demanding to be traded,
Sure.
usually ownership caves in and does it.
Yeah, usually.
Cleveland didn't, albeit though they overpaid to make this problem go away, and they have now created an entire new one.
Oh, yeah, they have.
Because you've made Garrett the highest non-quarterback paid player in the NFL. So you've now tied up a lot of cap money to him.
So I'm looking at Spotrac.com right now for the Cleveland Browns, and this is their multi-year salary cap table. It looks like the page hasn't updated yet for the Myles Garrett deal, but factor in the fact that this year, and this is sorted highest to lowest, you've got 31 point, and I think this might even change for this because if I read correctly, Watson
did restructure
his deal, but still, as it currently stands, without the public numbers known, almost $37 million is going to Deshaun Watson alone.
Yeah. Well, when they signed that poison contract, and I mean it was, and listen, as weird as this is going to sound, when Watson was coming back from his stuff in Houston,
right,
and was a free agent, remember the Browns were one of a handful of teams that were trying to sign him. They took a gamble. They signed him to a very ironclad contract that was out of this world, thinking they were going to get the All-Pro from Houston, and then what they got, unfortunately, has not matched up to the contract. He did restructure with the team, but now they've done it again with Garrett. Now, you're going to say insanity is doing the wrong thing repeatedly. I think with Garrett, though, I understand it better.
Sure.
Because he is literally your franchise player.
Yeah.
Albeit, though, you're still behind the Steelers.
Yep.
You're definitely behind the Ravens.
Yep.
The Bengals might be closer to you than you might think.
Oh, I agree.
Because of the cap situation they're now in.
Sure.
But signing Garrett is a good indicator to your fan base of like we're trying to keep players here. We're trying to build something.
Sure.
But you're not going to have enough money to go around to really build a team. And that's a problem for where they are.
Yep.
So this move,
Garrett's great, and I realize defense wins championships in a lot of instances.
Sure.
But you got to have an offense on the other side of the ball to be able to score points to be able to win the game. Like you can't win a game. I mean, you could, but the likelihood of winning a football game 4-0 because Myles Garrett got you 2 safeties is very high odds.
The Browns have a solid defense.
Yeah.
But their offense, that's the problem. And they don't really have anybody right now that is putting any fear in defensive coordinators.
No.
Like, I'm sorry, they just don't.
No.
So unless they pull some magic out in the draft, which they
Could happen, yeah.
they could.
Yeah.
I don't exactly understand this move as a long-term deal. I do understand it as a short-term, and I say I will applaud them for not catering to a star player demanding to leave.
Oh, yeah.
Albeit, though, money solves everything.
Yeah.
And Garrett is now fully all in with the Browns, which is a very big 180 stance. Is something we'll have to watch as this contract plays out.
Yeah.
Was it worth it in the end?
I mean, listen, you want to pay me $40 million a year, you can send me to Antarctica.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I say, if you want to go that, ODPHpodcast.com. I'm sure anybody would jump at it. So I'm not faulting Adam for taking as much money as he can.
Yeah.
It is an interesting stance, though, considering how public he made it to leave.
Uh-huh.
So that's the only thing that's not sitting well with me personally, but I'm not mad. I'm not mad at him for getting that money.
We have a little bit of breaking news coming to us from the wonderful Adam Schefter. Free agent quarterback Jacoby Brissett is planning to sign with the Arizona Cardinals.
Good place.
Yeah, makes sense. Good backup for Kyler Murray in case something happens. Moving on to the Dallas Cowboys. They retained a couple of interesting ones. They retained defensive tackle Osa. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his last name. I'm going to spell it for you. Zuwa. 4 years, $80 million. They also retained the multi-talented wide receiver, kick returner, punt returner, Cavante Turpin, 3 years, $18 million. A couple other ones. And then they signed a couple players here. Defensive tackle Solomon Thomas, 2 years, $8 million. Offensive lineman Rob Jones for just 1 year. And then running back Javonte Williams for just 1 year.
Well, Dallas hasn't done anything.
Pretty much,
I mean, they retained.
Like the defensive tackle. Okay, sure.
Yeah, but
wide receiver. Okay.
But you're still not up there on that Philly level.
Nope.
I'm sorry, but
Philly's lost 8 starters from that Super Bowl team, and I still put Philly above Dallas.
Well, you have to think Dallas needed to make some upgrades, and they opted not to.
Yeah, for we know the reason.
Well, yeah,
his name starts with Jerry.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Jerry Jones did not decide to do any major upgrades.
Decided to stay in-house.
Yeah, which, I mean,
you can sit here and say, well, he didn't stay in-house. He signed a couple. Okay, he signed 3 guys. But then you look at who he retained. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players were in-house already that he just decided to retain.
Yeah. I mean, it's disheartening to the fan base, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So we'll have to hear. I know Dre Driven's going to have a take on this. I can't wait to hear what he's got to say.
Absolutely. Then you move on to the Denver Broncos, who retained defensive tackle DJ Jones for 3 years, and they also retained quarterback Jarrett Stidham, 2 years, $12 million, because, hey, somebody's got a quarterback behind Bo Nix over there. And then they signed a couple of interesting players. Safety Talanoa Hufanga, 3 years, $45 million, and then linebacker Dre Greenlaw, 3 years, $35 million.
Greenlaw signing is great. I think that's huge for them.
Maybe they can help the one side of their special teams.
They're going to need to keep making upgrades. I believe they signed Evan Ingram, too, from the Jacksonville tight end.
I can look it up, yeah.
But either way, I thought Denver played it safe. They did smart moves. I know they're building something out there,
right?
But I still think they're a season away from really making a run at the Chiefs.
Right.
That's the benchmark you have to go put yourself against. How does your team rank up against the Chiefs right now?
Yeah.
I think Denver is on the way, and albeit this year getting into the playoffs was a nice bonus. Maybe a season away or a season ahead of schedule, but still something to build off of.
So it looks like Evan Ingram came in for a visit, but he hasn't signed it.
Okay.
He left without signing a contract, according to KUSA TV's Mike Kliss.
Okay.
So he visited, but he didn't sign. Moving on to the wonderful folks over there in Detroit, the Detroit Lions, retained a couple guys. Linebacker Derek Barnes, 3 years, $25.5 million there. Marcus Davenport, 1 year, $4.75 million. And then they signed just one player, cornerback DJ Reed, 3 years, $48 million.
The Reed signing is good.
Absolutely.
Detroit, though, still needs a little more help on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to have more question marks than I think people realize going into this new season.
Agreed.
Just because when you lose an offensive coordinator that built what Jared Goff and company was really running away with this past season, I think it'll be interesting to see how the new pieces fit.
Yeah.
And where they go from here. But I think where Detroit was looking at is they were heavily rumored to be in that Myles Garrett race.
Oh, yeah.
So
they were rumored. Philly was rumored.
Right, but I think for Detroit, it was a sense I think they were going all in on that.
Sure. That could be.
And that didn't happen. So their draft this year will be interesting when it comes around.
You want to talk about interesting decisions. and I know we're going to get some heat for this, but listen, it needs to be said. Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
What in the blue bloody blazes are you doing? Retain 2 players. Kicker Brandon McManus, 3 years, $15.3 million. Okay. Linebacker Isaiah McDuffie, 2 years, $8 million. And then they signed 2 players. Guard Aaron Banks, 4 years, $77 million. And cornerback Nate Hobbs, 4 years, $48 million.
Puzzling.
Yeah.
I thought they would have made a couple upgrades on the offensive side, considering what happened last year, especially when they fell to the injury bug late.
Yep.
So this was a little more puzzling than I wanted to give notice for.
And especially when you look at some of the other, and when we're saying offense, we're not talking like, oh, they got an offensive tackle, they got a left guard, they got a right tackle. Like, no, we're talking like wide receiver, tight end, hell, even running back. There were certainly wide receivers that, at least in my head, I would figure would have been in their price range.
Yeah.
Or within like negotiating, in the same ballpark, but maybe I was wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, this one, I think they definitely...
Maybe they're just hedging their bets on the draft. I don't know.
Well, when they do... It's kind of weird. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, though.
Yeah.
But you have to think about when Brett Favre was there.
Yeah.
They did not go crazy, per se, with a lot of free agents.
Oh, sure.
And they also did not do this with Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, sure.
And this also led to a lot of friction with those 2 players.
Yeah.
With that front office.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying we're going to have a triple three-peat here with Jordan Love.
Right.
However, though,
right.
I think you have to be sitting there on that offensive side of the ball going, we needed to make upgrades. We didn't. That defense is solid, but it's not great.
Right. And we're not sitting here saying like they had to go sign star wide receiver.
No, by no means.
For $250 million, but like there are guys that you probably could have gotten that aren't that expensive.
Like hypothetically saying, if they went out and got T. Higgins,
sure,
which I thought would have been a brilliant move for them.
Yeah, that would have been good.
I thought that might have been the piece to get him over the hump.
Yeah. The
fact that they didn't, they're relying too much on the draft.
Yeah.
And that is boom or bust. It really is this year.
It really is.
There's only, in my opinion, there's only a couple handfuls of rookies that are going to come out and be immediate impact players. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if Green Bay is in position to go get them.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Next up is the Houston Texans, who traded for your favorite wide receiver, Christian Kirk from the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we'll see how that goes.
But the bit now ends because I can't say 4 years, $94 million anymore.
Yeah. They did get the thing I did like, though. They did get safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson from the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
Love that pickup.
That's a huge move for them, a huge loss for Philly.
Yeah.
Albeit, though, I can't remember what site I saw it. I want to say it was CBS Sports. They said when CJ is in Philly, the Eagles go to the Super Bowl. When he's not and he left to go to other teams, they do not go.
Oh, okay.
So
we'll have to keep an eye on that.
Not jinxing the Philadelphia Eagles, but just saying something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Retained a couple interesting ones. Defensive lineman Mario Edwards, 2 years, $9.5 million. $9.5 million. Edge Derek Barnett, 1 year, $5 million. And then they signed a couple interesting ones. Cornerback / kick return Traymon Smith, 2 years, $7 million. Defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins, 1 year, $7 million. And then they did upgrade on the offensive side, or they're going to try to, with offensive guard Laken Tomlinson, just 1 year, $4.25. And then they got another couple wide receivers, Braxton Berrios and Justin Watson.
Berrios will be a solid slot.
Yeah.
He'll be a solid slot.
Yeah.
But other than that.
Well, and also, as we've seen with this team, they can't have enough wide receivers.
Right. That's the problem. I thought if any team was going to make a trade for a DJ Metcalf, or DK Metcalf, rather, I'm sorry, or Stephon Diggs, or like to retain him or do something.
Right.
I thought Houston would have been that team. They were not.
Right.
And I'm not going to say that they had a terrible free agency.
Right.
But I have to say they're arguably my most disappointing because I thought they took steps backwards, especially with the trade to Washington, which we'll get into. I was very puzzled at the moves that Houston was making.
Right. So then we get to the Indianapolis Colts. Oh, boy. Retained just 2 players, wide receiver Ashton Doolin, 2 years, $8.5 million, and they reworked the contract with right tackle Braden Smith, 1-year deal. Signed a couple of players here. Safety Cameron Bynum, 4 years, $60 million. Cornerback Chavarius Ward, 3 years, $60 million. And, folks, there's a quarterback competition in Indianapolis because they signed for 1 year, $14 million, Danny Dimes and Daniel Jones.
I'm going to say this, and you're going to look at me crazy. I thought the Colts made arguably the biggest steal of free agency.
With who?
With Daniel Jones. Hear me out.
Oh, please.
Hear me out.
Oh, please.
What is the one thing Daniel Jones has never had as a starter?
A decent offense?
Right, an offensive line.
Yeah.
Indianapolis has arguably the best offensive line in all of football. Arguably. If you're going to have a quarterback and they love the pocket presence,
Yeah.
like when Peyton was there,
Yeah.
Danny might have a sleeper season coming up for that reason alone, because he'll have protection. Now, am I saying Super Bowl? No. But if we're ever going to see anything out of Daniel Jones, this is the time and place because there's no pressure on him. If anything, it's a bonus if he does well, because with Anthony Richardson, it has not worked out.
Yeah.
Various reasons.
Dude quit mid-game.
Yeah. In my opinion, he needs to go somewhere and hold a clipboard
Yeah.
and learn. The perfect landing spot for him, in my opinion, is Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you're not. I wasn't sure on this whole sack thing, so I had to look it up. Between Richardson and Joe Flacco last year, Flacco got sacked 18 times. Richardson got sacked 14 times. So 30, 40 something, which isn't terrible.
not terrible, but
No.
in consideration to the Giants.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the one thing. I think that what Indianapolis did, that was probably the perfect landing spot for Jones. Now we just have to see what he's got.
I mean, listen, I got receipts for those people and certain notable folks going, we got their guy. We got the guy. You know, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
We'll see. You know, but this is a case of like, I didn't go into his couple seasons in New York with high expectations, and he didn't meet them. And I wasn't expecting shit when he was a legend in Minnesota, you know, so, you know, he didn't meet those expectations, you know, because, well, I didn't really have any by that point. So this is a case where Daniel Jones of like, you know what, this is your chance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you want to prove you belong in the league and you deserve to be a starter, this is it. Because if you blow this chance,
Oh, he's done.
you're going to be a perennial backup and you're going to be a journeyman, which, hey, ask Matt Flynn. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But that's what you're going to be.
But that's why I say he's going in this with house money.
Right.
Like there's nothing to lose here. If it's a bust, it's
Right.
it's an affordable bust.
Right.
If he turns out to be the comeback player of the year,
Yeah.
that is such a win for the Colts.
Sure.
And that's why I say, I know everybody's looking at me crazy wherever you're listening to this podcast from. Hear me out. He's going to have a line.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see what he does there. But I love the Ward signing too. More importantly.
Oh, yeah. Then you get to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who signed a whole bunch of players. They signed notably offensive line Patrick McCarry, 3 years for $37.5. Cornerback Jordan Lewis, 3 years, $30 million. Safety Eric Murray, 3 years, $22.5. Center Robert Hainsey, 3 years, $21 million. A whole bunch of others. Nick Mullins, quarterback. De'Ami Brown, a couple tight ends. You know, so hey, not bad.
I'll say this: Jacksonville. I have no idea what they're doing. I'm just going to
getting
in my
rid
opinion.
of Trevor Lawrence because Trevor Lawrence ain't that good.
Yeah, they just got a lot of work, and I don't think they did anything this offseason that really says wow.
No, I agree. Then we get to America's favorite team, the Kansas City Chiefs. Retained a couple players. They franchise tag offensive guard Trey Smith. They signed left linebacker Nick Bolton, 3 years, $45 million. Hollywood Brown back for another year, $11 million. Signed a couple interesting players in free agency. Cornerback Christian Fulton, 2 years, $15 million. Offensive tackle Jalen Moore, 2 years, $30 million. Then they got a punter, exclusive rights free agent, Matt Arezia. So, hey, good for them, but nothing too crazy.
Nothing super crazy. Travis Kelce's coming back too.
Yep.
But honestly, nothing really moves the needle here.
Yeah. Then you get to the Las Vegas Raiders, who made probably the biggest splash in the trade market thus far. They traded with the Seattle Seahawks for Geno Smith.
Yeah.
Ooh, baby.
Was not expecting this for a third-round pick.
No, I wasn't either.
Albeit, though, this was a pick they had flipped over to him from another trade they did. So technically, it's a free pick. It's
well, and what did our one friend say?
Rich.
Seahawks fan.
a dog.
Dog. What did he say? They got like 5 or 6 picks in like the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, Seattle's loaded for the draft.
They're good. They'll be fine.
Yeah, no, this move makes a lot of sense. Obviously, Pete Carroll going there.
Yeah.
It's a quarterback he knows, he gets along with very well. Geno Smith played his best football under him.
Yeah.
The Raiders obviously needed a quarterback.
Uh-huh.
And they had the picks to move. So, like, technically, this was like almost like a free one. So, I am not mad about this. I think this has a lot more upside than people are giving credit for.
Yep. Retained a couple interesting players. Defensive tackle Adam Butler, 3 years, $16.5. Most notably, though, Max Crosby, 3 years, $106.5 million. Oh, baby.
Well, another situation, he never wanted to leave the Raiders.
No.
He wanted them to build a team. Carroll coming in realizes this and is going to build around him. So, you just have to give him time. That's the only thing there. But I think Carroll brings a lot of stability to that front office.
It might take a couple of years before he really gets things going, but it'll get going.
He'll build the foundation, and that's what they need. So, but Crosby's still staying there because obviously he was another name rumored to be on the move.
Yep.
This is a big win for the Raiders.
Signed a couple of players, Jeremy Chin, safety, and then offensive guard Alex Kappa, and then also safety Lonnie Johnson Jr. Then we move on to the the Los Angeles Chargers. Retained a couple players. Cornerback Elijah Molden, 3 years, $18.75 million. Khalil Mack, 1 year, $18 million.
Yeah, I like that one.
Oh, baby. And then they signed a couple players there. Dante Jackson, the cornerback, 2 years, $13 million. And the move, I think, surprised both of us because if you'd have given me 30 whatever teams to pick from and list where he would have been most likely to go, would not have been high on my list. Running back Najee Harris.
Yeah, this one threw me for a loop. Did not expect him to go to the Chargers. Absolutely did not expect this. Big win for them, though.
Yeah.
But Harbaugh likes to run the ball.
This is true.
And I think that Harris fits that mold that he wants.
Yeah.
Because he's going to want to pound the ball as much as he can.
Speaking as a Penn State fan who had to watch his offense run down our goddamn throats a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
He loves to run that ball.
Yeah, so Harris is perfect for this.
Then we get to the other team in Los Angeles. That would be the Los Angeles Rams. Retained just 2 players. Matthew Stafford, they restructured his contract. And also Jimmy G, staying in L.A. 1 year deal. Makes sense. And then interesting signing, although I'm not totally surprised. Wide receiver Devontae Adams, 2 years, $46 million. And then defensive tackle Poona Ford, 3 years, $29.6 million.
Well, you needed number 2 receiver to play off Puka.
Well, especially since it sounds like they're going to let Cooper Kupp go.
Yeah, he's released. So this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Devontae is at this stage in his career, he's a number 2. This will play well, and I think him and Stafford will get along just fine.
And then we move to your favorite team in the NFL, the Miami Dolphins. They retained a couple players. Defensive back Elijah Campbell, just 1 year. Quentin Bell, 1 year. Almost $2 million between the two. And then they signed a couple players there. Offensive line, James Daniels. Let's hope Zach Wilson doesn't go near Savannah, Georgia, because he signed with Miami. 1 year, $6 million. For those of you who don't know, Savannah, Georgia is like the most haunted city in the United States.
Yes.
So hence why the joke. He's seen ghosts. But nothing really super shocking with the Miami Dolphins. Like, oh, they're okay. Safety, offensive line, defensive back line. Like, okay. But I'm not expecting too much from Miami this year.
This was kind of a letdown, to be honest with you. I thought they were going to make some moves. They obviously let go of some players. Morstert is gone. Yeah. I believe he was a cap casualty.
Something like that, yeah.
Barrios is gone. He went to Houston.
Yep.
I thought that this would have been a prime time to move Tyreek Hill.
You would have thought.
But the fact they didn't, it worries me a little bit because now you're going to have the same problems you had last year.
Mm-hmm.
And for a team, and granted, I'm taking my Miami bias out of this.
Sure.
For a team that needs more stability and balance, keeping Hill there and the same problems that you had last year, I think is going to become a locker room distraction.
Oh, 100%.
I really do. And I think this is going to be the downfall of McDaniels as coach.
Could be.
So, like I say, I don't necessarily know how they get past this, but I was like just when I was processing this whole move in my head,
Uh-huh.
I'm going, how the heck did they not move him? Especially, we know teams that needed that wide receiver.
Well, there's a good number of them, yeah.
Yeah, so
I'm a fan of one of them.
so like I say, the fact that you didn't move him,
Yeah.
like that is a weird stat to me, and that's why I'm sitting here going, just like, what did you do here?
Yeah.
So now, with Mike McDaniel, you now need to kind of figure out something.
Yeah.
And that's going to be on him. But if he's the first coach fired next season, I understand why.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Then we head up north to Minnesota Vikings, retained a couple players. Cornerback Byron Murphy, 3 years, $66 million. Got their running back, Aaron Jones, 2 years, $20 million.
Good move.
Good. Yeah, great move.
Good move.
Theo Jackson back at safety, 2 years, $12 million and change. Signed a couple players, most notably of which defensive tackle Jonathan Allen, 3 years, $60 million. Upgrade the offensive line for presumably J.J. McCarthy. We're getting Will Freeze, 5 years, $88 million. Got a new center, Ryan Kelly, for 2 years, $18 million. So, hey, looks like they're getting things ready.
They're getting some stuff ready. I thought they did okay. Obviously, everything going on there, I thought they did all right.
Yep. Then we move on to the New Orleans Saints. They traded with, my New England Patriots for defensive tackle Devon Godchow, which, okay. They also retained Chase Young, 3 years, $51 million. I'm going to be honest. I didn't realize he was down there.
Really?
I saw this news. I'm like, wait, he's on the Saints? Okay.
Yeah.
Then they retained tight end Juwan Johnson and also defensive tackle Nathan Shepard.
Yeah. New Orleans is doing a lot of different moves. I think now with the new coaching staff in there, they're going to be kind of shuffling around the deck a little bit.
Then you get to the New York Football Giants. Retained a couple players. Wide receiver Darius Slayton, 3 years, $36 million. Because, before free agency, they didn't have a quarterback on their roster. They retained quarterback Tommy DeVito, 1 year, a little over $1 million. Signed a couple players. Cornerback Paulson Adebo, 3 years, $54 million. Safety Javon Holland, 3 years, $45 million. Defensive lineman Chauncey Golston, 3 years, $19.5. So, not bad.
Not bad, but I am sensing they're going to do something crazy in the draft.
Oh, absolutely.
Mark the tape now. I think they trade up to number 1.
Oh, Lord.
I think they trade up to number 1 to Tennessee, and they go get Cam Ward. I'm going to call it right now.
They'll go for Cam Ward, and they'll sign Aaron Rodgers.
Yep. They're going to do something like that.
Oh, Lord.
Knowing that front office and knowing that coach.
Can they be on Hard Knocks back-to-back years?
I'm telling you.
I realize they were off-season version, not the traditional version, but can we have them on?
Mark the tape, because I think had they done a little more in that off-season with free agents, I think I would have changed my pick. But now after seeing that, you can get Aaron Rodgers to mentor for a year. If you're lucky. If you're lucky, that's all he's going to do. They're going to get Cam Ward, which I don't like Miami playing in New York. I don't like that move. And that's what they're going to roll with. I don't see Sanders coming there.
I don't either. And listen, Cam Ward might be a decent quarterback. It's just something that doesn't sit right with me.
Well, they have no offensive line, so it doesn't matter. Like, that's the problem with the Giants. Until you address this, the Giants are going to be irrelevant.
Then you get to the team that shares the same building with them, that being the New York Jets. You want to talk about what the fuck are they doing? They retained 2 players, linebacker Jamian Sherwood, 3 years, $45 million, and they RFA tendered safety Tony Adams. Signed 3 players, safety Andre Sisco, 1 year, $10 million, cornerback Brandon Stevens, 3 years, $36 million, and quarterback Justin Fields, 2 years, $40 million.
Surprised at this move.
Uh-huh.
Very, very surprised. But I think for the Jets, they were looking for something.
Yeah.
And they need to establish a new identity. Obviously, under Aaron Glenn, who, I love his energy he had when he got signed.
Yeah.
And he really made it a point to establish this.
Yeah.
He knows he can develop Fields, but the problem is, do you have enough around him to really make a difference in the AFC East right now?
No.
That's the problem.
They're right now, as presently constructed with what we know from free agency, I would honestly put the Jets in 4th place.
I would say, the defense has not been playing up to potential.
No. And they weren't really all that great when they had Saleh there. Mm-hmm. Robert Saleh, who's supposed to be a phenomenal defensive mind.
Well, I think what happened is a lot of that focus, I think that locker room got divided, in my opinion, with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And I think that caused a bigger rift than anybody wants to admit, for reasons.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put it that we'll just...
Going to make a great book someday.
Oh, yeah. That whole season, that last season, I want to know about, to be honest with you.
ESPN 30 for 30.
But I think now with Glenn coming in, he has to establish some stability. Fields is arguably the best young quarterback that was available
sure.
in free agency. Because, sure, you could have gone with Russell Wilson. You could have gone back with Aaron Rodgers, but it's a smart move to release him and let
There
him
was
go.
no way they'd go
Right,
back
right.
to
But
Rodgers.
just saying who was available.
Right.
And I don't think, like, if they went after Daniel Jones, that would have worked out because their offensive line is not that good.
No.
I think Fields is almost in the same situation he was in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
So there's a lot more upside to him here. I mean, he has a better running back in Brees Hall.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, he's got Brees Hall. He's got the one wide receiver there, whatever. I'm looking up the name because I'm blanking on it right now.
Garrett Wilson?
Thank you. He's got Garrett Wilson. He's got Brees Hall. Like, he's got a couple things, but it ain't, listen, don't expect miracles.
No, but at least I think this gives them some stability, albeit though I think they overpaid.
Yes, 100%.
But I think this was a situation. We talked about panic moves.
Oh, this is one.
This is one.
Because there was a good stretch of free agency where the quarterbacks weren't moving.
Right.
And then it was boom, 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 boom. They all started moving.
Yeah, because I think when you saw Geno Smith get traded,
Yep.
that set a big domino effect.
Yep.
'Cause I thought Fields would have been. My thing with the Raiders is I think they would be better with somebody that plays like an Anthony Richardson
Sure.
or a Justin Fields.
Sure.
Even if Russell Wilson was younger, I would say maybe him.
Yeah.
But in this situation, this helps the Jets.
Yep.
But I think that once Geno was taken off the board, that shifted everything around.
100%. Then you get to the world champion Philadelphia Eagles, who haven't done much. They traded for two players, quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson from the Cleveland Browns and offensive guard Kenyon Green from the Houston Texans. They also retained two players, linebacker Zach Bond, 3 years, $51 million, and they gave Saquon Barkley a 2-year, $41.2 million extension.
Well, when you're the world champs, you have some leeway.
Yeah.
I thought they lost more on defense, though.
Yes.
That's the larger story for me.
They've lost like eight players.
Yeah, they lost a lot in their defense, so I think they're going to have to get real crafty in the draft.
Uh-huh.
Otherwise, I don't see them repeating with this lineup they have right now on defense.
Hashtag ODPH pod. How many University of Georgia players are in the draft?
Yeah.
Help us out. That's our answer. That's where they're going to refill in the defensive side.
It's a smart move, but I think they got a lot more holes than they realize now.
Then we get to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who traded for DK Metcalf from the Seattle Seahawks and then signed him to a 5-year, $150 million contract. Now, I know there were some Patriots fans who were really hoping we'd land him. I'll admit, I would have loved to see him play in New England. You know, Josh McDaniels' offense, Drake May throwing him the ball. Would have been great, but then when's the last time Patriots ever gave a contract like that? Mm-hmm. They signed a couple players, they being the Pittsburgh Steelers, linebacker Malik Harrison, 2 years, $10 million, tight end Donald Parham Jr., and then center Ryan McCollum. But the big one, DK Metcalf.
Well, Metcalf is a great signing,
Uh-huh.
but here's the issue you have.
Who the fuck is going to throw him the ball?
Exactly.
Because at this point, you're stuck with Aaron Rodgers, which rumor has it, he may be going there. Nothing is announced as of yet.
Right.
Or they stick with Russell Wilson or re-sign Russell Wilson.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
You're in a no-win situation.
Uh-huh.
If you bring Aaron Rodgers there, I just do not see him working well with Metcalf.
Nope.
I do not. I think you're asking for problems. God bless Mike Tomlin, because I know he's managed a lot of egos on that team.
Yeah.
This might be what breaks him.
It's entirely possible.
So you have to consider that. If you keep Russell Wilson, listen, he's not the same player he was in Seattle. We have to be
Right.
we have to be honest about this.
Right.
Is he going to help beat Lamar Jackson in Baltimore?
I mean, I'm looking at the list of free agents available on Spotrac.com, and this one's not totally up to date because I mentioned Jacoby Brissett. He's still on this list. But here's the list of players currently available according to Spotrac.com at quarterback. Trey Lance, Taylor Heineke, Marcus Mariota, Drew Lock, Joe Flacco, Jameis Winston, Mac Jones, Carson Wentz, Case Keenum, just to name a few. I mean, all of those names, I'd honestly stick with Russell or Rodgers at this point.
You have to. Your hand is forced.
Uh-huh.
The only thing you could do if you could find a solid backup.
I'll say, shit, we'll trade you Joe Milton.
I mean,
Give us a fucking
fourth round.
fourth round. Yeah,
Fifth,
hell, I'd even take a vending machine full of soda.
Yeah, I mean,
Why not?
You could make some moves to go get somebody like Milton would be good.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think who's out there that's, you think about the Matt Flynn's.
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
a backup.
The perennial backups, yeah.
Yeah,
there aren't many these days.
No, there really isn't. So, I mean, your hand, like we said, is forced.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to take it with Rodgers, I think. And then
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not wishing bad,
Yeah.
but I think this is going to be a long season for Pittsburgh fans.
You want to talk about a long season? San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, my God.
Oh, it's going to be bad.
The fall from grace.
Retained a couple players. Running back Patrick Taylor Jr. 1 year. Also running back Jordan Mason, second round RFA tender. And then linebacker Curtis Robinson 1 year. Signed 2 players. Tight end Luke Farrell 3 years, $20.25 million. And safety Richie Grant 1 year.
Let go of a lot more than they kept.
Yeah, they did.
So now you have to go re-sign Brock Purdy long term. You're going to give him a monster contract. Not saying he's not worth it, but you have to really put an evaluation on.
Yep.
Debo Samuel is gone.
Yeah.
Ward is gone. Greenlaw is gone. A lot of that defense is really moved. And plus, we heard Brandon Ayuk might still get traded.
Yeah, it's entirely possible.
So you're now in a very odd situation in San Francisco.
Right.
Normally, I'd say hit the panic button.
Yeah, yeah.
But John Lynch, in my opinion, is probably the best GM in all of football.
Yes, this is true.
So
They'll find diamonds in the rough.
if anyone's going to make some chicken salad out of chicken stuff, it's him.
Let's not forget they made it to the Super Bowl with Mr. Irrelevant.
Right. So I'm not saying write them off per se,
Just don't expect, miracles.
but lower the bar because this might take a couple seasons to rebound, especially if they lose Ayuk. And, I mean, because otherwise you're just left with him and Kittle.
Yeah, which ain't much.
And McCaffrey.
And McCaffrey, which you can't depend on.
Right, you can't. Because they just cut the fullback, too.
Yeah.
So there's some stuff that John Lynch is going to have to work.
Yeah.
Let me mark the tape on this, though.
Okay.
If he gets them to the second round of the playoffs
Okay.
with this roster as depleted as it is, and he finds somebody in the draft,
Okay.
listen, mark him as he's the GM of the year.
Yeah.
Mark him down for that. It's like,
Should
like if he pulls some magic out and they get to the second round of the playoffs. Not saying they go to the championship game, whatever.
Right.
Give me second round. I'm gonna say he's GM of the year. Don't ever doubt him. Don't.
Oh, I'm down for that. Then we get to the Seattle Seahawks, who retained 2 players. Linebacker Ernest Jones IV, 3 years, $33 million. Defensive tackle Jaron Reed, 3 years, $25 million. Signed 2 players. Offensive lineman Josh Jones, 1 year, $4.75 million. And they got their quarterback, Sam Darnold, 3 years, $100.5 million.
Yeah,
That's a lot of money.
I know. I was, like I say, I kind of got a half yawn in there because I was like, what? Because I was not expecting Darnold to go out there.
No, I wasn't either.
I thought what would have been smart is if he stayed in Minnesota.
Yeah, I would have figured.
But
then again, you got to risk what happened at the end of last year happening again.
Right. Well, that's the whole thing. Did teams finally figure out Darnold? I don't want to say yes, but listen, his performance speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And especially with that team doing as well as they did last year.
Yeah.
That's the problem you have. So now Seattle is going to have a veteran quarterback to come in and replace Smith.
Yeah.
He does have a very adequate offense.
Yeah.
The defense is on the up.
Yep.
They could make some noise. Like they could sneak in the playoffs and really make some noise.
Sure.
But if you can get consistent play out of Darnold, you're all right. If you can't, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you look at the way the NFC West is currently constructed. The biggest threat out there right now, I'd say, is the LA Rams.
Yeah.
But I'm not exactly sitting here going, they're going to go 13-4.
Yeah.
Or whatever the record would be for that. So you can contend, but I'm not exactly expecting a Super Bowl out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, retained a couple players, most notably of which offensive guard Ben Bredson, 3 years, $22 million. Wide receiver Chris Godwin, 3 years, $66 million. Allegedly turned down more money from other places, but wanted to remain in Tampa Bay. Hey, familiarity. I can't fault him on that. Love who they picked up, though, on the defensive side. Picked up 2 edge guys. Hassan Reddick, 1 year, $14 million, and Anthony Nelson, 2 years, $10 million.
Loved every move they did.
Oh, yeah.
Loved every move Tampa Bay did. I think they had probably one of the best off seasons here with free agency. Listen, they just need to do a couple tweaks here and there.
Yep.
Godwin staying, like you touched upon, very familiar with the system. He knows he's a 1-2 punch with Mike Evans.
Basically guaranteed another 1,000-yard season.
Yeah, so smart moves.
Yeah.
I can't fault Tampa Bay. I think maybe you go find somebody in the draft to kind of just bolster here and there.
Uh-huh.
But everything else they did, I thought was an absolute win.
Then you get to the Tennessee Titans. Boy, you want to talk about what the fuck are they doing?
Oh, my God.
So they retained defensive tackle Sebastian Joseph Day, 1-year deal. Offensive line Andrew Ruppich, exclusive rights free agent, and also cornerback Darrell Baker, exclusive rights free agent. And then they signed offensive tackle Dan Moore Jr., 4 years, $82 million. for a fucking offensive tackle. And then linebacker Cody Barton, 3 years, $21 million.
When you're the worst team in the NFL because you have the number one pick, they should have been going crazy trying to sign people.
Yep.
The fact they didn't gives me pause. Big time. And like I say, now I'm really sold that the Giants are going to trade over that number one. Because otherwise, Tennessee, what are you doing down there?
Really? Because the NFC or the AFC South is one of the weaker divisions in football.
Yeah, and the fact they weren't making any real moves, that is troubling.
Yeah.
Very, very troubling.
Then we get to the Washington Commanders,
Bum.
who saw the Eagles win the Super Bowl and took that personally because,
yes, they did.
God damn. Traded for wide receiver Deebo Samuel from the San Francisco 49ers. Traded for left tackle Laramie Tunsil from the Houston Texans, which I'm sitting here wondering, did the other 30-whatever teams not know he was available? Because that was surprising.
Yep.
They retained Bobby Wagner for one year, Zach Ertz for 1 year, and then also John Bates, the tight end, for 3 years, Jeremy McNichols for 1 year. And then they signed defensive tackle Javon Kinlaw for 3 years, $45 million, and safety Will Harris for 2 years, $8 million. Good Lord, did they reload.
They reloaded. They're going to be nasty.
Yeah, they did.
They're going to be absolutely nasty next season. Commanders fans are going to get up and go crazy. I loved everything they did. And obviously this is now the time for Daniels to really take that ball and move forward. Great rookie season. It's going to be tougher for him to repeat those stats, but he has enough weapons around him. He should be fine.
Yeah. So then we got our two teams we got to mention. I'll start with mine. Patriots, they retained Austin Hooper, 1 year, $5 million. Not a huge surprise, but I figured would have been something like that. The guys they signed, though, holy good goddamn. They signed defensive tackle Milton Williams, 4 years, $104 million. Cornerback Carlton Davis, 3 years, $60 million. Edge Harold Landry, 3 years, $43.5 million. Linebacker Robert Spillane, 3 years, $37 million. Offensive tackle Morgan Moses, 3 years, $24 million. I know this one's going to hurt you. Wide receiver Mac Hollins, 2 years, $8.4 million. This one came out of left field. Josh Dobbs, quarterback, 2 years, $8 million. So, hey, interesting. And then defensive tackle Kiris Tonga, 1 year, $2.7 million. So, as you can clearly see, 1, 2, 3, 4 guys on offense, the others on defense. Clearly looking to shore up that defense. I love all of the guys they picked up on defense, especially defensive tackle Milton Williams, who was on the world champion Philadelphia Eagles. They also picked up from the Las Vegas Raiders, and in fact, he was their leading tackler last year. That would be Robert Spillane, the linebacker there. So love that move. Carlton Davis, former Tennessee Titan, so he's obviously very familiar with the way Mike Vrabel runs things. But I love all of the moves that the Patriots did in the guys they signed.
Yeah, I do. Like I said, they really bought into Vrabel.
Yeah,
and this is a Vrabel team. Like the moves he did. Signify what he had in Tennessee.
Yep.
The only thing that you don't have is a bruiser running back yet.
Sure.
Yet is the key word. I have a feeling I know who they're going to take in the draft if they keep moving down. I'm going to, I'll make another bold prediction early.
Okay.
I think Vrabel's going to pull a Belichick and keep trading down.
Could be.
To load up on
Could
picks.
be. I think it depends on who's there when they finally come up.
Well, I think if they're looking for the running back from Boise State, I'm blanking on his name right now.
Oh, yeah.
I think if they got a chance to get him, they're gonna go get him.
Could be.
But we'll have to see.
Then we get to your Buffalo Bills, who gave Josh Allen a 6-year, $330 million contract. Good Lord. Edge Greg Rousseau, a 4-year, $80 million deal. Khalil Shakir, 4 years, $60.2 million deal. Linebacker Terrell Bernard, 4-year, $50 million deal. And they also retained safety Reed Ferguson. In terms of the gentlemen they signed, they gave Josh Palmer a 3-year, $36 million deal. Defensive tackle Michael Hogt, 3 years, $24 million. And they also signed running back Dearton Evans.
Okay, Ashton Genty.
Oh, okay.
Was the running back I was thinking of.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so for the Bills, this is the easy way we can describe it. Josh Allen said during his MVP season he wanted to renegotiate his contract. He is obviously the franchise of Buffalo.
Yep.
He is going to be the Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. As long as he's in Buffalo, they always have a chance to get to the playoffs at least. However, this contract is good for short term. It is not built for long term.
Right.
The Bills made the smart move by releasing Von Miller.
Yeah. Well, I was a little shocked at first, and then I'm like, wait a minute. I started remembering his contract. I'm like, no, that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. They are negotiating about him coming back.
That doesn't surprise me.
I wouldn't doubt seeing him take a smaller deal.
Sure.
With the incentive of he's going to go to the front office when he retires.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of been like a little theory.
To be like a defensive, I'm not saying coordinator, but like be a defensive coach.
No, I'm going to think he's going to be more in the behind the scenes in the actual office, right. Which I think he'd be good at.
Sure.
So the Rousseau deal needed. The one that I was more happy about is Shakir took a very hometown discount.
I believe it.
Very big. So the fact he got the hometown discount was huge. Bernard also same thing. They got to go get Bedford. That has to get done.
Yeah.
Losing Mac Hollins hurts, but in the same idea though, what they tried doing with this Josh Palmer deal, and I was talking with the GEO himself from Nerd Initiative, Michael, who's a big Bills fan too. It's puzzling.
Okay.
This is the one move I don't understand really.
Okay.
Because it's essentially $12 million a year.
Yeah.
For a guy who's been okay.
Sure.
Out in the for the Chargers.
Sure.
But I will say this: Justin Herbert, has he ever had a true number one?
Oh, not that I can really think of, and I'm sure some Chargers fans are going to be sitting there screaming, well, what about this guy? What about...
Well, Keenan Allen is supposed to be, but he's always been a yards guy, not a touchdown guy.
Yeah, no, I can't really think of one that's like, yeah, that was their number one.
Yeah, this guy has had potential.
Sure.
But it's a lot of potential, though.
Yeah.
Like I say, for the amount of money he got. So that's the only thing that really worries me a little bit, is he's got to really prove that contract. I mean, granted, we have Coleman.
Yeah.
We have Shakir. So you have your ones and twos locked up.
Oh, sure.
This guy has to play like a one though, because Amari Cooper's gone. There's no question in my mind about it. He's gone now.
Yeah.
Mac Hollins, it was like, as much as that hurts me, because I think he was a great locker room leader.
Oh, sure.
The Bills were not going to give him $5 million a year.
No.
He's getting paid with the Patriots. Listen, happy for him.
Yeah.
I love his.
What size do you want your donkeys in?
Yeah, I love his energy, and I think he's going to help them. So, like I say, I'm not, super in love with some of the moves.
Sure.
Because I think that they were also in that Myles Garrett conversation, even though I do like the signing of Hecht.
Yeah.
I do like that.
Yeah.
That is a very big, solid move.
Yeah.
So I think they've addressed a little bit, though I'm saying Elam, I think, is going to get cut if he hasn't already. Damar Hamlin, I believe, is still a free agent.
I can look it up.
Yeah, so I think they still have some moves to shore up on that defensive side of the ball, because that's the only one I think they really need to fix. If they can do that, the Bills will be right back at it. But this whole offseason, Brandon Beane and McDermott should be sitting in their draft room going, okay, who do we need to go get to beat Kansas City?
Damar Hamlin is a free agent. Unrestricted.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I don't think he's coming back unless he takes a real big discount, which, I mean, I'd love to see him come back. Elam, I think, needs to go.
Okay.
Elam is done.
Okay.
We saw what happened during that Chiefs playoff game.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
I hate saying it.
Facts are facts.
But listen, tape is tape. We saw what happened. He needs to go somewhere else. He's not really been a fit for McDermott as much as they thought he was going to be. It just hasn't worked. It is what it is. Get rid of him. Go get somebody else, whether it's the draft, whether it's trading with somebody. I don't know. You need to go upgrade on that position.
Yep.
But I think, though, the Josh Allen contract, I know some people are losing their minds a little bit because he's now the highest paid player in the NFL.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but for what he means to that team,
right?
They needed to do it. Remember, they're going into a brand new stadium.
Yeah.
They want to have that whole Bills Mafia mystique still there.
Yeah.
And if Josh is there, Josh will get him into playoffs at the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
He's that good of a player. How far they go, well, we have to see. But they've been on the cusp of finally getting over that hump.
Yep.
With this team right now, I'm going to say maybe.
Yeah. We're approaching shit or get off the pot territory.
Well, that's the whole problem now, because with how that contract is structured, there is a very small window without doing another restructuring 3 years from now.
Yeah.
To really get the most out of this deal.
Yeah.
But he did, like I say, he moved some money around, much like Mahomes did down in Kansas City. So it kind of mirrors how they could play out if you're smart with your draft. And I just think Beane has been very good.
Right.
But he now needs to have a great draft. If this draft is a bust for whatever reason,
right,
detrimental is an understatement.
Yeah.
But I'm loving the moves. I love Josh Allen staying put
for
his prime years, and then we see what happens after. But the fact we have him locked up, and like I say, they did lock up a lot of that young talent. So that's what they need to do. Like I said, Bedford is the only one I'm still waiting on.
Yeah.
As far as I know, they have not locked him up yet. But anybody else, I'm all in. But it gives me hope going into the draft.
Yeah.
So that being said, Pat, I mean, we broke down every team here. Who is your one that you thought was great, and who's your one that you thought was not?
I mean, listen, I got to look at the Minnesota Vikings. I look at the Minnesota Vikings going, what in God's name are you doing? Because in all honesty, that division's up for play. You know, it's up for grabs, I should say. So I figured Minnesota would have at least tried to, especially got your he's still a rookie. He hadn't played it down in the regular season, so I think he's still technically classified as a rookie. You know, you got your rookie quarterback coming back. So what did you really do, you know, to help improve the team? Because you had an experienced guy come in and make some chicken salad out of chicken, you know what. What's it going to look like when the rookie comes in? We'll see. I mean, listen, this might be biased, but I think out of, you know, for who won, I got to say for me, it's the Patriots, just because you look at how bad they were last season. That had they not won the game against the Cincinnati Bengals in the regular season, would have gotten them the number 1 overall draft pick. But because they won it, you know, they dropped to 4 or 5, wherever they are, you know, and just how bad they were defensively. And to really go out and address a ton of those needs and add some guys that, like, listen, they may not be grand slam out of the park. Oh my God, they sent X, Y, Z, A, B, C. But there's still guys that, like, you know what? That could be a solid piece. That could be a solid piece. We'll see how things play out, but I really like what they did.
You know, for me, for this free agency period, apologize. I think I said draft because I'm so used to saying
draft.
Yeah. I thought for free agency, I thought Jacksonville fumbled the ball.
Yeah.
I thought they did bad. I'm going to say I'm tying them with Tennessee because I think both those teams needed to make some kind of moves. They did not.
Yeah.
And going into this draft, I think they need to make a lot of work if they're going to contend. So I am giving them bad report cards. As for the best ones, listen, I'm going to say Chicago.
Okay.
I think the Bears did a lot of great work. I think right behind them is Washington. And I think that they are going to be... Well, I think Chicago could be a surprise to many.
Yeah, like I said, that division's up for play.
To many in this offseason. But I think Washington, man, they're going to be making a run. Yeah. I think as long as everybody stays healthy there, they have got some big-time potential to make some noise. That being said, though, hit us up on that hashtag ODPH pod. We broke down the entire NFL free agency period thus far. A lot of moving and shaking going on. Hit us up. Let us know how your team is doing and where you think everybody else is ranking. But first, we're going to get a quick breakout. We'll be right back.
Do you like comic books?
What about movies and TV shows?
Well, we may be the show for you.
We're Hops Geek News, a weekly podcast that discusses comics, movies, and TV shows while featuring a beer of the week.
Every week, we chat about what we messed up on the week before, and then we dive into what we're reading and watching, as well as some news.
We then wrap it up with a geek-themed topic of the week.
You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts by searching Hops Geek News.
Cheers.
The content you are listening to is part of the Nerd Initiative Podcast Network. For more info about the home of pop culture positivity, check out nerdinitiative.com.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and we have to recap a wild weekend of wrestling.
Holy cow.
Because there has been a lot of moving and shaking going on as the pieces to the road to WrestleMania are starting to fill up the board. So let's start with SmackDown, Pat. What was jumping out to you this past weekend?
Got to mention, almost a month away from WrestleMania. Hard to believe. Also forgot going into SmackDown until somebody mentioned it to me that day that this was the SmackDown after Elimination Chamber, which I got to admit, with the way life and the week went, it felt like longer. A couple interesting things that jumped out. You did have a tag team matchup going on between the Motor City Machine Guns versus Pretty Deadly and Los Garza going on, which you had Pretty Deadly defeated the other two teams. So
yes. Or I should say yes, boy.
We'll see what happens with this and the tag team titles at WrestleMania, but I get a feeling it's going to be a little crowded in that ring come WrestleMania.
I'm not doubting a ladder match for the tag team titles. I'm just going to put it out there, but I will say this in all seriousness. I thought it was very cool for Pretty Deadly to finally get a big win because they have not done that since they've been on the main roster, in my opinion. So this is huge for them. Gets them at least a little more noise going around.
Sure.
And yeah, so listen, really excited to see what they're going to wind up doing here.
Yep. Next up was what we found out or had a little confrontation between Naomi and Bianca Belair, looking for an explanation of what happened at Elimination Chamber. Was it really Naomi all along? Somebody cue the music. Was it a mistake? Was it just a case of like getting lost in translation? Emotional moment going on. Almost looked like reality TV for a little bit of it. But come to find out, yes, it was Naomi all along. She did do it, much to the dismay of Bianca Belair, and making her return again was Jade Cargill, who arrived to the arena, came to the ring, stopped real briefly to talk to or look at Bianca Belair, and Bianca motioned to let her go. And you had Jade Cargill got her hands on Naomi again and beat her down again. So, we'll see where this goes.
I legit hated this segment.
I did too.
This is why. I think doing this all and throwing it on Naomi, who, listen, I'm not mad at her performance about this. Mm-hmm. She did what she was supposed to do in this role. Mm-hmm. I don't like the fact that we literally borrowed the whole Rock Rikishi Stone Cold angle to do it again here.
Yeah.
I think this would have made a lot more sense to have truly been Bianca Belair.
Yep.
Because I think now you've had Jade literally come in there and beat the snot out of Naomi twice.
Yep. In less than a week.
In less than a week.
Less than a week.
So you can't do a match between them, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So you have to move somebody to the different brand and have them start over.
Yeah.
So I think you're either going to move Bianca, which then but that's a maybe at best. But even though she's now contending for the Raw title, which I would not doubt the Street Profits go to Raw too.
Could be.
You do that, and then that makes sense to at least separate them. But then, and you have Jade go there too.
Sure.
But you've now just killed any kind of feud you were going to build for Mania.
Yep.
Had you teased this along and had Naomi keep denying it, and then have that just set up a triple threat between the three of them at Mania, I think that would have worked better to get the storyline.
Even just having little backstage things of like Aldis updating, Bianca and Naomi on the investigation.
Yeah.
Going on to what was going on. Like, oh, you know what? We looked at some footage. There might be something there. We sent it to a team of, investigators. Like something to just like string it along. Like, hey, we're actually doing something with this other than just, hey, she showed up and she did it.
Yeah.
You did have a match between Braun Strowman and Solo Sikoa, which ended in a Strowman win by DQ. It was a good match, but where the hell they're going to go with this, I don't know. It's kind of where they're at with Solo Sikoa right now. Is now that he's not contending with Roman for the tribal chief and the bloodline thing, it's kind of like they don't know what to do with him.
I think they're doing a slow build up for him and Jacob at Mania.
Could be.
I think that's the only way you can go.
Otherwise,
I don't know where you go with him. To be honest with you.
Yeah, and then you had a match between Chelsea Green and Mi Chin, which was a street fight. Good street fight.
Love this.
Great match between the two. Good Lord. Although, was a surprise return. Isla Dawn coming to Chelsea Green's defense, looking like she's joining the I forget what Chelsea Green's got a name for it, but it's her Secret Service.
Yeah, Slagent A, I believe, is now the name.
Something like that.
But
you know what? I'm all right with it.
I'm all right with this because I know this was originally rumored to be Blair Davenport's spot.
Yeah.
So if you're going to make the roster move there, this is a great spot for Alba to go into.
Yeah.
Really excited what they do. And like Chelsea as U.S. champ is working.
Yeah, I'm all right with it.
Long may she reign.
Yeah, absolutely. And then your main event of the night was for the U.S. Championship with Shinsuke Nakamura defending his belt against L.A. Knight.
Yeah.
And emerging victorious, your new United States champion, L.A. Knight.
And before we get into the breakdown of the match, obviously I want to send some condolences out to Shinsuke. I know that he posted on social media that he lost someone who was kind as an older brother and taught him so many things. So
yeah,
Usamu Nishimura. So obviously our condolences out from us to him and right now and any of his family and friends. So the match, like I say,
good match.
Good match. I mean, these two know each other very well, so I think now giving the belt back to LA Knight, that might kind of shift some things for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I don't exactly know what they want to do there per se with him as U.S. champ as far as a program. Mm-hmm. I could see this almost being a situation where they might have a scramble match or something to just kind of get some eyes on the belt.
Yep. And then your kind of closer of the night, you did have Cody Rhodes address John Cena, which, it was a promo.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing was Cody doing Cody things.
Yeah.
And obviously
the only thing I got out of Cody, he had a wicked shiner.
Yeah, there's a receipt from Travis Scott that he's still wearing. And I know that has been making some rounds on social media
Whether he did or didn't actually bust his eardrum.
Listen, I'm just going to say wrestling has a way of working karma out.
There's only a few people who know. They're all related to Cody.
Yeah. So
and WWE.
So we'll just kind of leave it at that, but I think he needed to kind of tease a little bit now going overseas.
Yeah.
We do know that the next Monday Night Raw that's going to be over in Germany, I believe.
Yes.
That's going to be the first time that John Cena and Cody Rhodes have been under the same roof since Elimination Chamber, so expecting some fireworks there.
If you watch SmackDown on Netflix, that will be airing at a different time than it normally does, so check your listings when it's going to be airing. If you're here stateside and it's still on USA Network, well, same time, same place.
Yeah. So speaking of Monday Night Raw, we do have to recap a very, very loud one from Madison Square Garden this past Monday night.
First time in what, like 10 years? They've been in the
I was
Garden?
going to say it's been a hot minute since they've been there. I believe it was the 15th time.
Something like that.
They've been at the world's most famous arena, and there's a lot to talk about there.
Yeah, opened with a match between Jey Uso and Grayson Waller because reasons?
Why would you not? I mean, solid match. It keeps Jay in front of that crowd. Obviously, your most over superstar in the brand now.
That shot of Jay entering MSG with the whole crowd yeeting. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean that's why.
Holy cow!
It makes a lot of sense. So there is some momentum getting carried into WrestleMania. Gunther jumped him after the match.
Which, okay.
Yeah, so
makes sense.
We'll have to see how this all plays out.
Logan Paul called out AJ Styles and got comedian Andrew Schulz involved partway through.
Yeah, this was funny.
It was amusing.
This was rather amusing because, and no, I'm going to say right now, this was not in response to AEW showing a lot of comedians on their card, which was out in LA this past weekend. If you want to find a recap of that, obviously Wrestling Night Live has got you covered. Rich and Sammy broke it down for you, so go check that out on Nerd Initiative YouTube. But I know that there's some online talk like, oh, WWE is just featuring celebrities because they're no. WWE is now really crossing over with pop culture entities. So, and Andrew Schulz is a very big comedian right now.
Had a comedy special come out.
On Netflix. So there is that synergy there. So you expect it. And Schulz played right into it. Schulz is a big wrestling fan, so it worked out wonders. Logan Paul brought him into the ring. Thought we were going to see some business. AJ Styles came down. So now it appears we're going to have AJ Styles versus Logan Paul at Mania.
I'm all right with that. And in case you're
Perfectly
curious,
fine with that.
In case you're curious or you need some new merch, WWE is selling I Hate Logan Paul shirts.
Yeah, which he ripped off of a fan.
Yeah, and it comes in black with golden red lettering, or white with black and red lettering.
Yeah, no, smart.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, love him or hate him.
Yeah,
he knows the business side of things.
Yeah,
and he is going to do business with WWE.
Yeah,
he can do it in the ring too. He's still growing in that role, but listen, this is a big money match, and I'm excited for it.
Also, who's the one dude from Atlanta, the basketball team, the Hawks?
Oh, Trae Young.
Thank you. Got a response similar to Trae Young did when he showed up on SmackDown. In New York.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Well, the Garden is the Garden. There's certain... Listen, you mention anything about the sports teams, it's going to go off.
Yeah.
Just saying.
That's true. Then you had a tornado tag team match between Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee against The New Day.
Yes. I mean, this was
a match.
This was a match, but I think what stole everybody was... Did we see the return of Chad Gable? ?
I'm hoping it's not.
I hope they play that up.
Because this was utterly hilarious. I agree with you because towards the end of the match, a masked individual, luchador, got involved with LWO, and it looked like Chad Gable, about the same size. He even did, the old thank you pose, but he didn't say thank you. He said gracias.
Yeah.
And then got asked about it backstage and was like, no, that wasn't me.
Yeah.
And so Kathy Kelly was like, you mean the person who was wearing the same clothes as you, the same height as you, wasn't you out at the ring? Yeah, no, wasn't me.
Yeah, played it off very well. So waiting to see what happens here. So I don't want to jinx anything, but listen, Chad Gable is money. I would love to see him get an Intercontinental title run.
Yeah.
I think he's long overdue.
Yeah. Then you had the Cody Rhodes promo because reasons, and again, much like his SmackDown one, he was there. He said some things. Not quite sure where the hell he's going with it, but hey.
Well, he has a very unfortunate role right now. Because his opponent for WrestleMania is not going to be on every show.
Yeah.
Neither is that gentleman's faction, whatever it's going to be called. So if you want to hype up the main event for the biggest show of the year, somebody's got to be on TV, somebody's got to be in front of the people, and somebody's got to talk.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm expecting a lot more of these promos. Would I love to see maybe like a Travis Scott appearance?
Sure.
Yeah, that would make sense. Or a video package from The Rock. Like, you have to do something. Or they have to put a third member in there like they talked about and have that be somebody on the active roster.
Right.
Me personally, and granted, I'm wishing this, even though this is a long shot.
Right.
I'd love it for it to be Karrion Kross.
Ooh. I'm all right
Nobody would see that coming.
I'm all right with that.
But you put him in that role, you can be on TV, and you just run with it. So
People picked up on Karrion Kross's gimmick, and it's now showing on his merch.
And it should, and we need to get him in the ring.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
make sure we start putting that in hashtags. We need to see Karrion Kross wrestle.
There was a backstage segment with the Judgment Day talking about how Finn Balor's now got a Intercontinental title match against Braun Breaker, that was given to him or set up for him by Dominic Mysterio. Wanted to point out, you might have missed it, Dom threw Liv a little bit of a look about once he mentioned he got the title match. So they might be selling him up river. We'll see.
We'll have to see. I mean, they've been talking about breaking up the Judgment Day for quite some time.
Yeah.
There's also that rumor they're going to be adding a member, possibly Aleister Black, back on the main roster. I don't know. We'll have to wait to see. But
Yeah.
they're teasing a lot of things for Judgment Day, so I'm expecting Mania will have a payoff one way or another.
Yeah. Then you had a number one contenders match for the Women's Intercontinental Championship between Bayley and Raquel Rodriguez. And with a lot of shenanigans ensuing, Bayley actually emerged victorious, becoming the Raquel. That was right. Raquel defeated Bayley to become the number one contender for the Women's Intercontinental title.
Not mad about this at all. I think it was a great move for Raquel. I think it helps Lyra.
Yeah.
They need to do something with her. They have to start building her into a program because I think, unfortunately, her title run has been very forgettable thus far.
Yeah, which is nothing.
It's not on her, but
it's not her fault.
They need to get her in front of the TV. They need to get the crowd behind her.
Yeah.
Or they're going to have to make a pivot and get the belt on somebody else and have her chase because I think the money is there with her because I think she still has to get herself over as a babyface.
Right.
So we'll have to kind of see.
Then Michael Cole interviewed Io Sky.
Oh, love this.
Oh, this was great. The new women's world champion, had an interview and quickly interrupted by Bianca Belair. Or Cole brought her out and had, of course, Bianca Belair challenging Io Sky for the title at WrestleMania 41, but not far behind Rhea Ripley. And, of course, Bianca and Rhea started jawing at each other. Io tried to insert herself. Rhea shoved her away. And then a little bit more talking, and then Io came back in. Bianca shoved her away. At that point, Io had enough and slapped the shit out of the both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, there's your triple threat.
Works.
Yeah.
Everything about this worked. So, and this was great for Io to fight back.
Yeah.
Because I was getting worried for a second that she was going to get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
No, she made herself stand out. And
Yeah.
in fact, I would not doubt her retaining
I could see it.
at Mania, so we'll have to see.
Then your main event was the steel cage match between Seth freaking Rollins and CM Punk. I almost mixed those two names up. Good Lord, that would have been funny. But emerging victorious through a little bit of controversial fashion. Seth Rollins defeated CM Punk. This one was all sorts of wild. And I knew once Punk hit like the third GTS that I'm like, all right, we're getting some shenanigans at the end of this one. Just how's this one going to go? And at one point towards the end of the match, the camera shot got real tight on whoever. I forget whose face it was. And the crowd started going nuts. I'm like, uh-oh, who's running in? And they were really going nuts. I'm like, somebody's running in, and I don't know who the hell it is. We found out who it was very quickly because Rollins was kind of slumped over towards the door of the steel cage, catching his breath. Clearly didn't want to go out the easy way, wanted to beat him clean in the ring. Roman Reigns, the OTC, your tribal chief, my tribal chief, came in, pulled him out of the ring, and started beating the holy hell out of him. And then once that was pulled aside and stopped by Adam Pearce and the powers that be, went in the ring and started beating the holy hell out of CM Punk. And, well, there's a triple threat. Because Seth Rollins is going to go after Roman Reigns. Hey, I wanted to beat Punk clean in the ring. I didn't do it. You cost me that opportunity. Match is going to be made at WrestleMania because, duh. And then, let's not forget, and Cole brought it up because the wise man, Paul Heyman, was consoling CM Punk in the ring and brought up Punk still has a favor from Paul Heyman. That match is going to get made. Punk's going to go to Heyman. Here's my favor. I want to be in that match.
Yeah, I could see that now happening. I mean, it's a phenomenal match, though. I mean,
yeah.
I wish we almost had a clean winner, but at the same time,
yeah,
I'm not mad about it if we get a great triple threat out of it, which we will.
Also, should note, all 3 members of the Shield curb stomp in the same weekend.
Yeah.
Same couple of days.
Yeah, that was a little, I thought the WWE one was a little better.
Yeah.
Like I say, I don't want to get into Revolution. More importantly, I don't want to get into that match. I will say, though, for the card itself,
Sure.
card was a solid B.
Oh, I agree with that. B plus, yeah.
But the main event of Revolution, and I know we do have people from AEW listening. Hi. The main event, the ending was botched.
Okay.
That's but I'm not the only one saying this.
No, yeah, you're not.
We always run a poll, even though we don't really talk AEW here on the ODPH. We always run a poll after the pay-per-views. What is the overall thoughts? And even the die-hard fans have said the card was great, but that ending for the main event was not. And listen, it's an honest take.
Sure.
So that's where you want to go. But like I say, I'm going to give another plug to Wrestling Night Live. Boom. They have a whole special breaking down Revolution. But yeah, you are right. Everybody got curb stomped this week.
Yeah.
And this is now going to lead in for the WWE side of things into this is going to be the main event of night 1.
Probably.
You can't tell me otherwise. I feel bad for Jay and Gunther, and that's why I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't think Jay cashes in. I've got a feeling.
You think Gunther retains?
I think Gunther retains.
Okay.
Which we'll break down when we get closer to Mania season, but I think now this kind of solidified that for me.
Okay.
So I'm waiting for just a little more things to see play out.
Okay.
But I think this is now your night 1 main event. There's no way they're not going to put this on last.
I'm just afraid, if they do go the route with, Jay doesn't win and Gunther retains, that, we almost might do a rehash of the Cody story. Where, he couldn't do it. He's got to spend a year getting his ass kicked before he finally emerges. And
No, because I don't think, I think what's going to happen, and like I say, I'll get into this in more detail in a later show.
Sure.
I think he's going to be the one to beat John Cena when John Cena becomes champion.
Oh, okay. I'd be all right with that.
And like I say, I'll explain how we get there earlier if anybody wants #ODPH pod. But when we start talking WrestleMania, I will explain how we get there. But that's where my thinking went. But all in all, a lot of moving parts are happening for WrestleMania. Liking what we're seeing thus far. You got the tentative card lined up, Pat?
Yes, I do. So taking place, obviously, this upcoming April 19th and 20th from the wonderful Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. You've got Io Sky taking on Bianca Belair, tentatively right now, in a singles match for the Women's World Championship. You've got Gunther taking on Jey Uso in a singles match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Tiffany Stratton taking on Charlotte Flair for the Women's WWE Women's Championship. And Cody Rhodes taking on John Cena for the undisputed WWE Championship.
A lot of stuff is happening. Obviously, 2 nights in April are going to really be where the wrestling world is going to be talking about it. We'll be walking you there, along with Wrestling Night Live every Thursday night on Nerd Initiative YouTube. So in the meantime, hit us up on that hashtag ODPH pod. What is your thoughts about this past weekend of WWE programming? Where do you think everything's heading now in the WrestleMania? Are you happy with what you're seeing? Are you not? Let's have those positive discussions, folks, because we can critique, but we can just keep it positive too. That all said, we're going to be heading into our final segment, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This is Tom from Tom Joe Lou,
This is Matt from Sideroom Sounds.
and you're listening to ODPH Podcast.
Wanna go where no one knows my name, to the desert, the oceans, or the plains. 'Cause I wanna go.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH Sports Edition. Pad, what you got?
Got a couple things to talk about, first of which is the local minute, and got to talk a little bit of Binghamton Rumble Ponies news because, well, they made some noise online yesterday because they announced a quote-unquote rebrand for a couple of games this upcoming August where they will be playing as the Southern Tier Spicy Meatballs with a logo that is freaking phenomenal.
That's so minor league baseball. It's not even funny.
So, reading from the article on their own website, it says Binghamton's newest name is inspired by the rich Italian heritage found not only in Binghamton but throughout the Southern Tier region, specifically Endicott, New York. In the early days of Endicott, New York, an area known as the North Side was huge with Italian roots. Many of the Italian immigrants moving to the region worked at the Endicott Johnson Shoe Company, Incorporated. However, many local property owners would not sell land to Italian immigrants, so Endicott Johnson purchased properties for their employees, and along the cobblestone streets of Endicott grew the vibrant community of Little Italy with fantastic food destinations. Some of those restaurants remain to this day on Oak Hill Avenue. The alternate brand is accompanied by a new uniform the team will wear on the field Thursday, August 14th through Saturday, August 16th. The official uniform features the traditional Italian colors of white, red, and green, while incorporating two distinct logos representative of the Italian dish of spaghetti and meatballs. Logo looks awesome. Super excited because I legit want a hat of this. So that should be awesome. They will be giving out, so the article does go on to say, the series is presented by Mirabito Energy Products and coincides with the St. Mary's Bazaar taking place around the corner from the ballpark. While more details on the festivities will be released in the coming months, the first 1,000 fans, so speaking from experience, get there early, will 1,000 fans through the gates on Saturday, August 16th will receive a replica jersey. Like I said, get there early. But if you do want to purchase a jersey, hat, anything with this, they do have a link on their website to purchase those products. Now, speaking of the Rumble Ponies, the season does kick off very soon. They open on the road playing New Hampshire on Friday, April 4th. Home series and home season starts on Tuesday, April the 8th, where they play the Hartford Yard Goats. So for more information, tickets, all that good stuff, bingrp.com. Then we got to look at the Binghamton Black Bears and how they did this last week. I don't think I need to run through the standings because, hey, they still have a playoff spot. Hey, they're still in first place.
Yeah, I was going to say.
First place by a lot. Their games they had this past week, though, Friday, March 7th, where they were playing the Blue Ridge Bobcats. They won that game by the final score of 7-3. Lost on Saturday, though, by the final score of 5-2. And then won on Sunday by the final score of 4-1. All those games, as I mentioned, against the Blue Ridge Bobcats. A couple games coming up this weekend. Both of them are home games. The first of which is Friday, March 14th, 7 o'clock Eastern. They are playing the Danbury Hat Tricks. Then Saturday, March 15th, 7 o'clock Eastern, they're playing the Carolina Thunderbirds. So for more tickets, information, all that good stuff, BinghamtonBlackBears.com. Then we got to talk a little bit of baseball because, hey, baseball season's almost here. We'll talk about the good first before we get to the bad. The LA Dodgers did give a contract extension to manager Dave Roberts for 4 years, which, hey,
He's earned it.
Say what you will about the team. He's a good manager. So that makes sense. It'll pay him $32.4 million, so an average of $8.1 million a year. So, hey, good for him. Then we got to get to the bad, although I think if you're a Yankee fan, you saw this coming, and that is Yankees ace Garrett Cole is scheduled to have Tommy John surgery and will miss the entire 2025 season. And as Tommy John surgeries typically go, part of next year, too, because it's a year for the surgery and then at least 6 months before you're back to where you should be. So, he's out all of this year, part of next year, but hopefully he bounces back better than he was before.
See, my problem with this is, obviously, speedy and healthy recovery wishes.
Sure.
First and foremost. We knew last season he was having arm issues.
Same series, from the article on ESPN.com. Same series of stressful events a year ago with pain in his mid-March tests and opinions from doctors.
Yeah.
So same.
So we knew there's been some problems there, and he worked through it last season. Granted, got to the World Series, sure. If it was still aggravated, and still a problem, why did you not go the first day after the season was a wrap?
Would have made more sense.
Because now you're really putting a lot of pressure on Fried and the rest of the squad to pick up some slack.
Yep.
I am not counting them out for dead.
No.
But I'm just saying.
It don't help.
The Yankees are not going to exactly be etched into the World Series in April. We'll just put it out that way.
Right.
They're going to need to scrap. Can they scrap? They have enough talent to do. I think if they get Arenado from St. Louis, which is now heating up even more, they're going to need to make some moves happen.
There's a couple free agent starting pitchers if they want to go for them.
Yeah.
I think they might hold pat and see what they got, and if they need to get something by the deadline.
Well, I think they should just start taking a look what they got in AAA and say, hey, listen, we have to Band-Aid this up unless we're so far gone.
Yeah.
If we're so far gone, see what we got and see what moves we can make.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do.
Pretty much.
But disappointing nevertheless.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So for me and my one shot, we did mention last week UFC 313 was going down. And it did go down.
Oh, boy.
2 fights that we definitely want to break down. Yep. One kind of went the way we expected. The one, we did not. But there's a lot of story going around with that in the UFC world. So, Pad, let's talk about it.
So the one is the co-main event of the evening, which did earn Fight of the Night honors, was the lightweight division matchup between Justin Gaethje and Rafael Fiziev, with Gaethje emerging victorious via unanimous decision. All 3 judges scoring the contest 29-28.
Yeah, so this one went probably the way we thought. Gaethje needed a dominant win. This is fight of the night. You knew Fizdev was going to step up for him.
Yep.
Gaethje wins, so now you have to think he locks in the number one contendership, which is fine. I think that's all they need to do. I'm not mad about this at all. I think it's smart for the UFC to book this with Makhachev.
Yeah.
Because you're going to need to get some box office there. And I think for Gaethje, listen, the window is running out to be fighting for titles.
Yep.
And listen, I'm not saying he's done, but just there's a lot of tread on that tires.
Yes.
And he goes into battles. So if you're going to make him the number one contender, like that's the way to do it. I don't know if they would try doing some leapfrogging with because we know that obviously with the featherweight champion Tupria's coming up.
Yeah.
I don't know if they want to go that route, but I have to think about this. I think you make this fight with Makhachev and Gaethje. I think that's the solid money fight. Make Tupria fight somebody else that's right below there.
Right.
Because I think that would make a lot more sense. But like I say, this is the deepest division in all of MMA. So wherever route they want to go is good. As for Fizdev, I mean, listen, he's got some possibilities too. I mean, for being in the rankings, a little lower on the spots. But I think this is a good showing for him that he could hang with a Gaethje. So I think you got to give him a high-profile fight next time.
Yeah. And then the one everyone's talking about was the main event of the evening for the light heavyweight championship with Alex Pereira defending his belt against Magomed Ankalaev, emerging victorious via quote-unquote unanimous decision. Two judges scoring the contest 48-47. The third judge scoring the contest 49-46. Your winner and new UFC light heavyweight champion, Magomed Ankalaev.
So this fight, I think Pereira got robbed. Not going to lie. He stopped 11 takedowns.
Yes.
So
according to UFC.com, 12.
Okay, so he stopped 12 takedowns. How many were successful for Magdov?
Just give me 1 second. Successful takedowns for Ankalaev? None.
Yeah, so you stop
he was 0 for 12.
You stop him on every takedown. You go the strike comparison.
Total strikes in favor of Ankalaev, 127 to 97 for total strikes. Significant strikes still in Ankalaev's favor, 94 to 76.
Okay, so you can make the argument there.
Sure.
But I would say this. I think for the rounds, I think Pereira came out hot, got a little, I don't want to say gassed because I don't think that's the right frame, but I think, though, he was starting to have some problems in the second and third. And then however you want to go with the fifth round. But I think he was robbed. I think he had this fight locked up. The fact you stopped those takedowns, I mean, the strikes you can kind of go base back and forth.
Sure.
So now with this loss, the big question is, where do you go with Pereira from here? Because he's essentially cleaned out that 205 division. There's only one other weight class he can go to. And now he's in this weird spot where the only move he has left is heavyweight.
Yep.
Unless you run this back.
I mean, which I wouldn't be opposed to.
I'm not opposed to it either, but I think some of the luster is gone.
Sure.
I mean, granted, has he lost before? Yes, he lost to Adesanya. But they've had a long history of fights down there at 185, and then he went to 205 and was dominant here. Sure, he gets stopped by Magnov, but now it's either you run it back, which I don't know if I want to see.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand it, but at the same token, I'm like, eh.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question mark here.
Yeah,
because otherwise, you're going to start recycling fighters to go after Magnov. And because Prochaka, I think, would be the smart one.
Sure,
I
he's
think,
currently number 2.
Yeah, that would be the fight you do.
Yeah.
I think that's for your box office. But then the question is, with Pereira, you have to move him up, and I don't know necessarily if you want to. Because, I mean, the big fight everybody's waiting on, if it ever gets signed, is John Jones, Tom Aspinall.
Right, which at this point, I don't think it's going to happen.
I mean, we've been talking about it for so damn long until it gets pen to paper. I mean, who knows? I mean, that's the problem you have.
Yeah.
Because then you have to go, okay, well, whoever wins that's who you get Pereira.
Right.
That's been the long game for the UFC in quite some time.
Right.
But is it still there? I mean, that's the problem. And I don't know, because it's not like, I mean, it is a big weight for Pereira to go up to.
Sure.
That is a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, granted,
Does he even want to? That's
he's built from that whole Donald Cerrone anytime, any place, anywhere.
Okay.
I mean, you think about it. In his first year in the UFC, he fought in 2 weight classes and was dominant in them. If he goes up, because he knows that that's that fight left, I mean, it would be crazy. He's got power, but I don't know how that would match up against an Aspinall. I just don't. I mean, Aspinall's a big guy.
Right.
John and him, I think, would be more stylistic. But it depends if John wants to make it a grappling match, because we know Pereira struggles at that level.
Right.
Albeit, though, he shut me up, though, because he stopped every single takedown, which just happened in this one. So
yeah,
who knows? But this is now the big problem the UFC has, because it's not so clear-cut. But then you have to sell this fight. And that's the argument, because either you finally get Jones and Aspinall, which makes all the sense in the world. That's the fight they should have been trying to get done for quite some time. I'm sure they are, but reasons have prevented it.
Yeah.
But then you make Pereira wait. Is that smart with one of your biggest stars?
I don't know.
I mean, that's the problem you have. So I don't know if it's a clear-cut answer. I really don't, because I'll already tell you right now, there's not exactly a sizzle fight at 205 for him right now.
Right.
So wait and see. Hit us up on that hashtag. Let us know. I mean, we'll kind of have to wait to see how it shapes up.
Yeah, we do have NFL breaking news. According to Adam Schefter, 5-time Pro Bowl wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins reached an agreement today on a 1-year, $5 million deal. Could get up to $6 million deals with Baltimore.
Good landing spot.
Yeah.
Good landing spot for him.
Baby.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Ty Johnson breaking 2, re-signed with the Bills.
Hey, there you go.
So, I mean, moves are happening, folks. It's a good time to be into sports. That is why we're talking about all of them. Even some stories in the NBA and NHL are starting to pick up some steam. So we'll definitely be covering them as the weeks are going on here. But what a time to be in sports, APAD.
Yeah, it's a great time.
Yep. So that all being said, for anything and everything that is the ODPH, you can find it at odphpodcast.com. That's it for this week in sports. So for the one and only Padawan
Fuck the Astros.
I'm your host, Ken. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast. See you next time.
It's such waste of time, swiping left and swiping right on people you could know. 'Cause anyone who's worth a damn be worth way more than a picture could ever show. You could find the right light, find the right angle, and never find your soul. And it can feel like a losing battle, and this plot is full of holes. This modern way of finding love just makes me feel so alone. And I can't be the only one sick of staring at my phone. So look up, talk to me, a better way to spend our energy. Just look up, talk to me. We don't have to float alone on the open sea. Don't know that I believe in the old time fable. Everyone has just one true love. All I know is you're across this table, and you're all I'm thinking of. So look up, talk to me, a better way to spend our energy. Just look up, talk to me. We don't have to float alone on the open sea. Talk to me. It's such waste of time, swiping left and swiping right on people you could know.